Welcome to 3D.sk, human photo reference for 3D artists and game developers. On this site you can find thousands of images, from studio photo reference to street photo reference. We also have a selection of animals on our site. We have some costumes, we have weapons, armor. We also have 3D scans of bodies and heads, clothing, animals, all the aforementioned above, and 3D maps and textures. In this tutorial, we're going to be carrying on from the last tutorial where we just made sure everything was correct and in the right place for when we make these transitional meshes. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to start creating these transitional meshes. Let's go to the low poly head. Let's make a clone and call this transition mesh, or even better, eye transition mesh. Make sure you don't make this an instance, make sure you make it a copy. So eye transition. Remember to choose copy. And let's create that. So what I'm firstly going to do, hide unselected. I'm just going to select this. So that is the part that we want. Am I correct in thinking that? Yes. Okay, now let's select this. And we can go invert, delete all that. And we can go to the inner loop. And we can delete that. Unhide all. Now if we move these out, wherever the, turn this off. If we move these out, you're going to see where they're placed. They're basically right here. The next step is to get all this, the border around it. Actually, we did make one small mistake, so let's go back. We also need to keep all this area. So let's just select that. We do also want to keep all this area as well, the inside of the tear duct. So just go ahead and select all them. Go invert, let's delete. What you can do is you can go to here, you can deselect those ones, delete. Deselect all the tear duct lines and delete. Now we have the meshes that we want, or the segments that we want. Okay, so now what we can do is we can go to border selection, select the border, move it out. So holding shift, move it out, scale it down a little bit. Then what we can do is we can go to modeling and go to polydraw. We can go to pick what we want to draw on. So for now we want to draw on the eye. We actually, one sec, we want to hide this and just have this one. So let's draw on that. Click on conform, click drag. And we're just going to drag these outer points, or inner points, I should say, to the eye so they kind of conform to the shape. Now you see why that making sure the points of the eyes were correct is so important, because now it meshes with the eye and the eyelid. There's not too much messing about and conflict to do. So just drag, make sure all these are on the eye and working good. So you can see that we have got a bit of conflict. The one I might do here is, because we'll need to do this later anyway, is just move it forward a little bit. Until you no longer really get conflict. Because there's less conflict on the bottom, what we could actually do is make it so our offset is much higher than the actual eye. What that's going to do is it's going to move it all the way up there. Now, I don't want it all the way up there, so let's just try 1. See how far that is. Seems to still be a bit too much, so let's try 0.05. I think for the most part 0.05 should work. I think a better idea might be to turn this to normal. Let's turn this to 0. If it lets me. Yeah, just change it to a small amount, like 0.050. Just checking something. Just kind of move around these points a little bit. Don't know what's happened to this point. Ah, I see. So none of them are actually apart from this one. So that might just be a case of turning off this and just going to just normal move. I'm just moving these out a little bit. Perhaps moving that one out a little bit. What we can actually do here is we can move this out a tiny bit. That's going to kind of create a transition. So there's our eye transition mesh for that side. Now we need to do the same on the other side. So we're going to do the same thing again. Going to move it forward, the border, scale it down, poly draw drag, course, we are going to have to change the surface. Or is it the same surface? No, it's the same surface. So actually we didn't need to change it, but it's fine to make sure. Just going to move each point around a little bit and just make sure it's in the right spot where I like it. I think that's all good. Now we can get the whole thing, and we can just move it forward a tiny bit, as much as that's necessary. Then we can maybe even go to the border again and just move it back if it allows us to. Keeping an eye on if there's any merging or conflicting vertices. Okay, let's move back to the other one. Try it again. Alright then. So it seems that that's okay. Maybe this needs moving out a tiny bit more. Yep, like there. Okay, so there's our eye transition meshes done. So let's unhide all. Let's hide selection. Hide unselected. And now we're going to make our eyelash mesh. So this one will be a bit easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all them and all these. Probably going to have to make another duplicate, so let's do that. Right click this, clone, copy, let's call it eyelashes. So I'm just going to go to this and press delete. This is another way to do it. Then all we're left with is 66 and 66, which makes 132. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all this loop, delete this, delete this. Then we're left with just these two meshes. So if I unhide all, where do we want the eyelashes to be coming from? Well, the eyelashes come from the top of the eyelid. So this is actually fine. What I do is I'm going to scale up a little bit. Then I'm going to move forward. I'm going to scale them like this and like this. Maybe down a tiny bit as soon as this is a man. And then we can actually go to here, here, go to all these spots here and just go split. That's going to separate them into two different meshes. So you can see how the eyelashes are going to look. What I also want to do is I want to get rid of these. What we can actually do now is select one of these, work out which one it is. Okay, it's this one. Select the vertices, deselect that one, and just kind of move it a bit more like an eyelash is. Same with this one, just so you get that obvious separation. There may be more here than the eyelash actually needs, but that should be fine. I may just go to this and just kind of move them both back a little bit. just a tiny bit. Okay. Then what we need to do is actually delete the inner parts. So that. And I selected something wrong. Delete that inner edge and delete this inner edge. And we've got some nice eyelashes that we're going to apply a UV map to. So there are a few more things to fix. Nope, that's just a faraway view thing. So now we have our eyelash mesh. If I just get rid of the high poly meshes, then there's one more high poly mesh behind there somewhere. Yep, just get rid of that. We've got all our meshes here that we need for getting into Unreal. So I'm deciding to leave the hair out for the end result, because I just want to show you how to set this up in Unreal. How to set up the main face, because hair can be done in very different ways and set up in very different ways, and it would make the tutorial a lot longer than it needs to be. We'll have more tutorials on hair in the future, perhaps using XGen and other methods of creating hair. The hair in this tutorial was just a introduction to how to do plane modeling for hair. Well, we're going to be keeping him bold, as I think he looks better bold anyway. So in the next tutorial, we'll be going on how to UV these, and then we'll be moving on to texturing the whole thing, and then getting it into Unreal. So thanks for watching this tutorial. Bye. Welcome to the end of this tutorial. Feel free to comment with feedback and suggestions below, and also comment on what you would like to see in future videos. Thanks and goodbye.